Hello, everybody, and welcome to our new season and new episode series. So we are super excited. We've been gone for a bit, and it's fun to be back. So without any further ado, we are going to jump into the topic of this week's episode about oneness. So personal sense.
Oneness is the key.
Oh, yeah. And personal sense is collective. You can't congratulate yourself on the good you think and do and condemn the evil which you believe your brother is thinking and doing, nor will you congratulate your brother and condemn yourself. Just doesn't work. Got two things going on when you're doing that. On the personal sense level of abstraction, no one thinks or does worse or better and is presumptuous for one that on that level to advise another or accept advice from another. Right? If you don't have self-responsibility for the actions and things you're taking, and you're going to blame out there for their good advice that you implemented, then you got two things going on. You're going to be led down the primrose path and wonder what the heck, right? So good is presumably a future achievement. It could not be a future achievement if it were not now an established fact. It could not be a future achievement if it isn't now an established fact. Every person is conscious of an individuality which is entirely beyond him or herself to explain humanly. Individual means not divisible, of one essence or nature. And that's what we're going to be exploring today in this session. Before we dive too far into it, I want to acknowledge that the Institute of Metaphysical Sciences, who sponsors this particular live stream, you can make donations. We're a charitable trust. You can make donations right up there. I'm trying to point correctly. Anyways, up at the top, you can see the site, and we would welcome any and all of that if this makes a difference for you. But we're all about researching, exploring, living, and teaching the science of being and the causal nature of consciousness. Our website is www.scientificmetaphysics.org. So I am. If I were divided, I would lose my identity. A piece of me as conscious being here, a piece of me as my world over there. The God idea being infinite is one, hence indivisible or individual. The effort one makes to maintain your individuality is because you have mistaken your personality for yourself. Naturally, this creates a terrific conflict, which only disappears as one's individuality comes into view and one's personality is recognized as identity on the personal belief level. Now, those quotes were taken from Margaret Laird's pamphlet called Life's Demonstration, and it's what we're going to be referencing today in our episode. All right. Anything you want to add to that, Betty, before we dive in here?
Nope, that was fine.
That was fine. All right, cool. Now, if any of you have a question or comment about anything that we're talking about as we go along, I want you to enter that into the comments and just let us know what it is. And if we're live, if you're doing that while we're still live on this live stream, we will bring it in and we will discuss it. So feel free to be interactive. We love it. All right. Okay, diving right in. We're starting with Life's Demonstration, page 51, where Margaret Laird wrote, individual man is himself the mind action or thinking, the awareness, unfolding the infinity of good.
Yep. So we're not talking about a human love-hate personality stuff. Not mentioning that at all, because that is the language. And if it shows up in your world looking like love-hate, it tells you right away you're believing in the language and living with the language and all that it includes. Where science says you leave that basis of belief and unite with one mind. That's exactly what it's talking about. Thanks.
Okay. So living individually as idea, you live universally, and this is the love that fulfills the law.
Yep.
Anything more you want to say about that?
Well, I just feel like every time I hear the word love, that there is a real human pull toward the human experience of what we call love. And that
Yep.
doesn't begin to scratch the surface
Right.
of living the atmosphere of love as everywhere you are and everywhere you could ever be.
Yeah. Yep. I get it. All right. Moving on. In Science and Health, Mary Baker Eddy says it this way, starting on page 44, line 13 to 16.
477.
Or 477. What did I say? Anyways, who knows what I said, but it's 477, like it says right up there on the screen. Divine science shows it to be impossible that a material body should be man.
Yep.
Say a little bit more about that.
It's never the view. The look is never what it is. It's your best view of a reality that's present that you're not seeing any better than the view you've got. I used to laugh because Margaret would say, if you don't have any better sense than to have that view, enjoy.
Great. That's kind of like what I remember her saying of, forgive me, Lord, for requiring my world to treat me this way.
Exactly.
So fun stuff. All right. Now, if you're enjoying this conversation, it's making a difference for you, we would love any likes or thumbs up, hearts in Facebook. However you want to do that, we would love those as well. Okay, carrying on. Man is not matter. He is not made up of brain, blood, bones, and other material elements. So again, the look may be the way it looks, but it is not the way it is. Is that essentially what this is saying?
It's always the way you're seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what your experience is. But you need to know that what's present is divine perfection. So Margaret says, pay attention to your view. Pay attention to what you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
That tells you where you're standing, you know.
Right.
If I'm seeing all kinds of problems, all kinds of difficulties, all kinds of lack, all kinds of upset, and so on, where am I standing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing in Betty and thinking that what she's looking at means something.
Right.
When I'm being myself, what I'm looking at is the best view I've got of something that's real and perfect and whole and missing nothing. The presence of the atmosphere of love. Yep.
I like that statement, the presence of the atmosphere of love.
Yep.
I think that word atmosphere adds a lot to the whole looking at this.
Mm-hmm. Good.
You know, it's like atmosphere is the air we breathe.
Yeah, it's not our personal view.
Right, right.
It's what's actually present.
Right. That's what I love about that. That statement, the atmosphere of love is like it encompasses, it generates, it's, you know, and then everything inside it is part and parcel of that atmosphere. That atmosphere gives life to. So I like that very much. I would give you a heart if I was doing hearts right now.
Oh, you would. All right.
I would give you a heart and a thumbs up for that one. I like that. Okay. We'll see if anyone else wants to add to the heart that's there. Okay. So moving on. For more discussion, language or form occurs because being is present. And that's the only reason it occurs, because without being, there'd be just nothing.
Yeah, and the language, you know, that you have is your identifying apparatus. What's present is one infinite mind constituting all that is and all that seems to be and all that ever will be. Your view is your perception. So, in Mrs. Laird's words, pay attention to your seeing. What are you seeing?
Yeah.
Are you seeing the stuff that looks like it's out there and in here and over there? Him and her and it and they and all that stuff? Or are you seeing the divine fact of your own being? And this is the language that identifies that for you.
Right.
You know, when you release it from your conviction that it exists the way you are perceiving it as something over there, you include with that perception all the limitations that go with language. Seen, heard, and felt, here today and gone tomorrow, up and down, in and out, like a yo-yo.
Right.
If you are seeing the facts, the spiritual facts, the discernment of a spiritual fact, which is what science is all about, and you see that that's what's showing up. Oh, that's the reason I've got this language going on. Must be wonderful. On we go. Whole different thing going on. And you live it the way you see it.
Yeah.
So pay attention to what you're allowing yourself to see, or what you're deciding is there, or what you're not paying attention to because it's not important. All of those things are your seeing. So pay attention.
Right. Yeah, very good. And I would say that anytime you buy the picture, as if the picture were causative, you're in that personal sense world. And then what you said, you've got all the limitations of that you're also buying into.
You know, the fact is, Margaret's book, Christian Science Re-Explored, she told us that we are the world we walk through. So when I view myself as less than the reflected God idea, when I view myself as the language view called Betty, and think that constitutes who I am, I've bought into a whole packet of limitations, of yo-yo behavior, of chaos, of love, hate, right, wrong, good, bad, rich, poor, all of that stuff that goes with the human perception. Right. When I can stop for even a moment and say, wait a minute, that may be the way it looks, but there's nothing present but the atmosphere of love. There's nothing present but divine life, joy, freedom, perfection. Oh, well, then I don't have to be concerned. Just moment by moment, you move yourself out of the line of fire. Give yourself a space to breathe as yourself rather than as the two-legged thing showing up in the mirror.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Life demonstrations on page 52. Margaret Laird wrote, the life principle functioning is man as the living of life. So what that says is the life principle, that being, consciousness, whatever is, shows up as man living life.
Well, that showing up is what we call man.
Right, living life, right?
And then we look at our best view of it and think that's man. And then we're locked into the language. That's not man at all.
Okay.
If it isn't the God idea in the lens of your viewing, you're looking at a language that doesn't exist. Right. But you give it all the life it's got, and there you are.
Right. Creating our own problems is what that is.
Yep.
All right. And Science and Health on page 475, line 13 and 14, Mary Baker Eddy wrote it this way. Man is idea, the image of love. He is not physique.
That says it.
In other words, not material.
Not something you can see, hear, feel, taste, or touch.
Right.
That's right.
Because anything you can see, hear, feel, taste, or touch is reflection and the point of view on the one reality that's present.
Yep.
Okay. Just don't hook into it as causative. That's the message. All right. Man is the compound idea of God, the generic term for all that reflects God's image and likeness. Now, here's the thing that I want to question. The compound idea of God, wouldn't there be more than one to have compound anything?
The compound idea is all the bits and pieces. Anything you can think of, imagine, project, figure out, dream about, all that stuff. That's compound idea. And the idea is all is infinite mind, infinitely manifest, right here, right now.
Yep, got it. Excellent.
Called generic.
Right. And in your book, Mind is the Athlete, you say it like this on page 57. The source of my every human experience rests with my own aware or unaware perception.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that you said aware or unaware. It's
Yep.
all about perception.
Yeah. We have this dichotomy going on all the time about conscious awareness because we think we can be unaware. And when you think that way, you're being a two-legged animal saying, yep, sometimes Betty's aware, and sometimes she's sound asleep, not aware at all.
Right.
And when we're talking about science, awareness is the quality of actually living the fact that you're talking about. Being present to, oh yeah, who I am isn't something I can touch or see or feel. It's just not that's language. So then I'm aware that there's a lot about me that nobody knows because they're fixed on Betty.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole lot about me that nobody knows. And I've discovered there's a whole lot about me that I don't know.
Right.
So I'm not talking about Betty because the being that's present is infinite and it changes faster than the click of your fingers. It's always changing because infinity doesn't repeat itself, doesn't duplicate itself, is always fresh and new and different and ongoingly so forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot rely on what I saw yesterday or what I saw a minute ago or what I hope to see down the road. I have to be present now because right now is all I've got. The rest of it's all speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Faulty stuff full of holes called memory.
Yep.
Wishful thinking called the future. Or something that I think is not present. So how could it help me? Do I have to wait till tomorrow to have good? Or next week? Maybe next week things will be better because my paycheck comes in next week. Maybe that's it. Maybe next week will be better because my family's coming to visit and it'll be fun. All of those things are rooted in what? Your language belief that you're a two-legged animal among a million others and you got things to take care of. Science is very individual, very one thing going on. Just one. I am the world I walk through, and it lives and moves and has being because I'm present, not because Betty said so.
Yep. Each of our perceptions of what's so in and as the universe determines our experience in the language world.
Yep.
All right. In Life's demonstration on page 52, Margaret Laird wrote, in fact, one may be sure that if your concept of good is like another's, you're mentally apathetic and self-loving. Well, there you go. It's like a slap across the face. Wake up. So you can be sure that's missing the R. So you can be Sue. You can be sure that if your concept of good is like another's, that you're mentally apathetic and self-loving. Say more about that, Mother.
Well, is there another?
No, so I suppose if I adopt someone else's point of view about something.
I made it up.
Yeah.
If
But
I
if
think
I
there's
adopt it
another,
and I don't,
I'm
if I
making
adopt
that up and I'm living in terms of that. And I have to be careful because that can hurt me. Or else I'll have to be dumb and unknowing, thinking it's going to help me. Because there's nothing out there to help me and there's nothing out there to hurt me. It's all going on as one thing. Who am I being? Betty or myself?
Right.
The choice makes a huge difference. And at any moment, any part of the day or night, anytime, you can remind yourself of who you are, and that divine being is always present. Anytime you see Betty, there's a divinity present. Anytime I see anything, there's a divinity present because I live and move and have being divinely because it's all there is. There's nothing else going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. Okay, and in Science and Health, Mary Baker Eddy says this on page 477, line 30. Man divorced from spirit would lose his entity, but there is no such division, for man is coexistent with God.
Yep.
Anything more you want to elucidate about that?
Well, yeah, you can say a lot about that. God action is man present. The action of the God idea is all there is going on as my being. Man is the reflected presence of the God idea.
Mm-hmm.
God in action is man. So you don't have any choice. That's a myth you tell yourself in your true-legged living.
Right.
You're divine whether you like it or not. And home free whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not.
Right.
The fact is the fact. Reality is present. Everything else is invention, made up story, a belief that I have that I hang on to. The minute I'm willing to leave it alone, it'll stop being a problem in my life. I don't have to do anything about it. I have to leave it alone. And I mean, really leave it alone. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to fix it. I don't want to move it. Have nothing to do with it at all. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
And I'm home free.
Yeah.
Because the space of being has no limitation. It's all inclusive and it's perfection present.
Very good. Anyone have any questions about this at all? Now would be the time to enter those things in. Questions, comments, anything like that. Just enter those right in. Just right in there. Okay. So, Mom, you said it this way in your book on page 57. Our experience of our language world relates directly to our perception of reality.
That's right. That's what we've been talking about.
Yep. So it's a good note to end on. So what else would you like to say on that?
Well, what we really sum it up to say it is that nothing exists outside of or external to our consciousness. Consciousness is all there is. It's fundamental, all constituting, self-maintaining.
Yep. All right. And with that, that wraps it up. Nice little bow, right? So, any questions about oneness? It's crystal clear. I can tell. So here's the thing. This is the very first episode of our next season. If you are just looking at the channel, we have, oh gosh, almost 60 plus videos. So make sure you check out those videos, and we will see you here next week at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, and we'll have a whole new topic to talk about. So be ready with your questions. And we have one comment from Kate May. Thank you. And I should say thank you. Very good. Great to see you out here. All right. And with that, we shall say goodbye, and we'll see you next week. All right. Adios.